What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I am your average Redditor, and today we're going to be looking at r/EntitledParents. Before we get into the stories, subscribe with notifications on for daily Reddit content. Now today I'm going to be looking at some of the top posts of all time, so let's get right into it. Entitled Mum tries to deny her dying son his wish and tries to kill him because the books I got for him are satanic. Some backstory. I'm in a D&D group with a couple of friends from nearby, and one of the members of the group was a kid who was about 15 years old. He's a really sweet kid, likes helping other people out, and he's a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons. He also has cancer in both of his lungs. He's from a religious family that basically forces him to act pure while he's in their sight. The mum is a WBC level rabid, while the dad is just a sensible person who just tries to get him to be a good kid. When he's out of sight of his parents, he just does normal teen stuff. Because of his mum, the only books he was allowed to own were Christian books and Bibles. He joined our group mainly as a way to escape his home life and his mum. A couple of weeks ago, the cancer in his lungs started to get to him, so he was taken to a hospital by his parents. He contacted me about this a day after he was taken to the hospital, stating that he wanted a monster manual as his last wish, stating that he was tired of reading the same things. I bought him the book from Barnes & Noble, but considering that he's a dying teen, I got him Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes stacked on top of that. The next day, which was his birthday, he was still in the hospital, so I brought him the books as a gift. After he blew out the candles, we had cake and he started opening gifts. Mine was the first to be opened. Seeing what they were, he immediately got this humongous grin on his face and hugged me. Meanwhile, his mum stared down at the books with a look of pure disgust, with her husband staring at her with this wary look in his eyes. She picks up one of the books and relights one of the candles and holds the damn book over it to try and set it on fire. I managed to stop her and demand, "What the F are you doing? He asked me to get those books and I'm not going to let you take them away." His mum simply stared me down and said something along the lines of the book being sinful and satanic and full of evil, and that her son had no business with them. I retort and say that her son can read what he wants and that she shouldn't have to force him to be Christian. She starts getting red in the face and yelling at me about essentially forcing children to believe in God from a young age. I state that I'm a Baptist, which I actually am, and say that faith in God is a matter between God and the individual. She turns red all over and actively starts to try and destroy the books, with me, my friend, and her husband trying to stop her. At one point I shouted, "Would God want you to do this? To restrict your dying son's freedom of expression?" Right in her face. This just sets her completely ablaze. She tosses the books aside and starts trying to strangle her son, and her husband calls security immediately when she does this. Security get here within about a minute of the two of us trying to pry EM off of her son and drag her away, with her shouting that we're all catamites to the devil. Both her husband and my friend charge her with child abuse, assault, and attempted murder. Trial's still going on, and I'll try to update this post as the trial goes on. Wow, what a story. Okay, so he's given an update on what happened at the trial. Trial was almost a disaster. Me, him, and her husband all prosecuted against her. The moment she saw us, she tried to tackle us, shouting something about divine retribution, but the officers restrained her. During the whole thing, she kept putting the blame on me and him, calling us corrupted by sin. Needless to say, she was pronounced guilty of all three charges that I mentioned earlier. The moment she heard this, she went absolutely crazy and tried to attack the judge, but officers tased her to the floor. Now, she'll be serving for 20 years for the other three charges, with 10 more on top of assaulting a court official. Thank you all for the support you guys gave us. Well, thank God that the charges eventually went through. It sounds like this woman is just an absolute psychopath. Thank the Lord that she's locked up. My dog sent an entitled parent and her kid to jail. Sit back and enjoy. This is long because I apparently can't do short. Many years ago, I was living in a beautifully sunny southern state. I had a cute little house that was completely fenced in. 5-foot fence in the front, 8-foot fence on the sides, and a 10-foot chain link fence in the back. I'm fortunate enough to work from home. My office was my patio unless it was raining. My dog, Sari, who was a German Shepherd Rottweiler mix, kept me company. At a year old, she was a big girl at 120 pounds. She was generally very sweet and kind, but protective. She was well trained, but also had a knack for disappearing to play with her animal friends, so I kept her on a chain too if we were outside. High school kids in the area had a tendency to use the alleyway behind my house to get to and from school. Most would stop and say hi to Sari and give her attention. She loved it, and I honestly didn't mind. One day, I noticed that any time Sari was alone outside, some kids would rattle the back fence, throw things at it, then scream and yell at Sari. The kids would run off because I could see who they were. In case things got worse, I brought some security security cameras and brought Sari with me anytime I went inside when the kids would be around. One day, I had to grab some work in the house and left Sari outside just for a moment. From inside, I heard the fence rattle and then Sari yelp in pain. I rushed outside just in time to see a kid try to throw a rock at Sari along with some other kids. I was pissed. Yeah, understandably. As I rushed over to Sari, I calmly asked them, did it ever occur to you to wonder why I keep my dog chained in my fence yard? Then I unhooked her. Sari ran at my back fence and climbed over it. The kids started running down the alley with Sari right behind them, barking away. I let her go about a half block, then whistled for her. She came trotting back, all happy as can be. I checked her over and gave her a treat. She was fine. A couple of hours later, one of the kids came back with his mother, EP. Here we go. EP, who was screaming, "You effing idiot! You had your dog attack my son! He was only having a fun time, he's just a boy!" The kid was at least 16 years old. "You scared him, it was just a joke, you had no right to do that. I'm calling the police and having that dog effing shot." Blah blah blah. I literally couldn't get a word in. Then she starts threatening me, so I called the police. The operator could hear her plain as day, even though EP was at least 40 feet from me. I guess that shows how loud she was. The police showed up in about 5 minutes. 2 cars. I guess they were in the area. 4 officers, all very nice guys. 2 officers come to talk to me, and the other 2 talk to EP and her son. EP never stopped screaming and cussing. I explained what happened and showed the video to the officers. Show all of Sari's vet and training paperwork. I filed a report and asked to press charges. The officers are petting Sari all the while because she's demanding attention from her new friends. She has her happy face on. Yes, Sari actually smiles. The 3 of us and Sari on a leash go outside towards the other group. We're about 10 feet from them when Sari suddenly cuts in front of me to stop me and starts growling. The skin around her face went tight, making it look like a hair-covered skull. The hair on her back raises up. Sari is very scary when she's like that. EP screaming again. "See, that idiot raised that dog to attack black people. Effing racist idiot. That effing dog needs to be put down." The 2 officers that were with me were African American, so no. That part always annoys me, so I included it. Anyone accusing a dog being racist, I think, has some sort of mental problem. I called back one of the officers that I had been talking to. He didn't want to come too close as Sari is showing large teeth, so I moved back towards my house. As quietly as I could, I told the officer that either EP or kid were carrying a gun. That's why Sari started getting protective. It had happened several times before. I guess to err on the side of caution, or to shut me up, he decided to search EP and her kid. EP had an unregistered gun. Kid had a 6-inch switchblade, which was not legal in that state. So in addition to a charge of animal cruelty, they got nailed for carrying a concealed weapon, being in possession of a firearm while on probation, and resisting arrest, and a couple of other charges. EP never stopped screaming the entire time this happened and while being driven away. I don't think that's how EP or kid expected to end the day, but I enjoyed it. Even better, I never saw her or her kid again, and the kid stopped harassing Sari. This is another fantastic story, and I know it's posted on r/EntitledParents, but this wouldn't be amiss on r/ProRevenge. Anyway, that is the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for more crazy entitled parents and for more daily content.